The scent of cedarwood cologne and high-stakes ambition had become part of Parker Gray's identity. At 29, he wasn't just moving up the corporate ladder, he was launching himself into orbit. In just 3 years at NovaSpark, a tech conglomerate known for its ruthless culture, Parker had closed 5 international contracts and obliterated his competition in the running for the global expansion lead. Only one thing stood between him and the promotion of a lifetime: a final meeting with Celeste Durand, NovaSpark's elusive chairwoman. Her name was spoken in hushed tones across boardrooms, part myth, part miracle. She was a former AI prodigy turned corporate alchemist, with piercing silver eyes and a voice like velvet-wrapped steel. Some said she could see right through people. Others said she could rebuild them. So when Parker received a cryptic invite to the 67th floor, her private suite, his heart surged with ambition and dread. He was greeted not by an assistant, but by Celeste herself. "Mr. Gray," she said, motioning toward the glass-walled sanctuary of her office. The room was bathed in natural light and minimalism. At the center, a single white desk. A lone steaming cup of chamomile. And a black leather briefcase. Celeste sat across from him, legs crossed, gaze penetrating. "Let's not waste each other's time. The position in Zurich is yours, conditionally." Parker's smile faltered. "I'm sorry, conditionally?" She pushed the briefcase an inch forward. "This company doesn't need another wolf in a suit. It needs someone adaptable." He frowned. "I've proven adaptability in every deal I've..." Celeste's voice sliced in. "Not that kind. I need someone who can surrender control in ways they've never imagined. Someone who can be entrusted with more than numbers, with secrets." Her hand rested on the case. "What's inside is your trial." Parker hesitated, then flicked the metal latches open. Inside, wrapped in violet tissue paper, lay an object that sent his brain scrambling for rationality. It was a folded piece of delicate rose-colored silk lingerie. His lips parted in confusion. I don't understand." "You don't have to," Celeste said, unfazed. "But you must comply. Tonight, you will wear it under your suit. You will attend the product gala at the Grand Bellevue. You will smile, network, and make your toast, while keeping our secret pressed against your skin." Parker blinked. "You're asking me to wear that?" "I'm not asking," she said simply. His mind reeled. This had to be a trap. Or some elaborate hazing ritual. Maybe a test of boundaries? Or sanity? "I'm a strategist," he said, voice taut. "I've earned this." "You've earned a seat at the table," she corrected. "But the inner circle? That requires obedience." He started to close the case, but she stopped him with a single line that cut deeper than a knife. "Of course, if you'd prefer, we can fast-track Samantha Cho from Tokyo instead. She's very open-minded." Parker swallowed the lump in his throat. Zurich wasn't just a promotion. It was his escape. His clean start. The title. The prestige. The power. And Celeste knew it. He reached for the silk with trembling hands. Later that night, in the penthouse bathroom of the Bellevue, Parker stood frozen in front of the mirror. He had slipped the garment on under his suit jacket and tailored trousers. It felt soft, alien, and impossibly vulnerable. The neckline pressed against his chest like a whispered secret. When he stepped out into the ballroom, surrounded by industry titans and swirling champagne, he didn't walk the same. Every movement was measured. Every conversation filtered through the awareness of what lay beneath his clothes. Celeste watched from across the room, a glass of white wine in hand. She didn't smile. She nodded. By the time the last applause faded at the Bellevue Product Gala, my glass of champagne sat untouched. I'd just delivered my speech, tight, polished, and packed with data-driven optimism, and the crowd responded like they always did. But I didn't feel victorious. I felt watched. Wearing the rose-colored silk under my suit made everything sharper. Every glance, every whisper, every moment of eye contact was now charged with an unfamiliar tension. Like someone might see through me. And the person most likely to do just that was watching from the balcony, Celeste Durand, her silver gaze like a sniper scope, calm, unblinking. As I returned to my table, Miles Donovan, one of the regional heads I had outmaneuvered last quarter, clinked his glass against mine. Nice speech, Parker. Bold choice of cologne tonight. Kind of sweet? I froze. Was it the silk? Could he somehow tell? Thanks, I said tightly. It's new. He smirked. You've changed lately. Not in a bad way. Just softer. My ears burned. I brushed it off with a forced laugh and took a sip of water. Not wine. I needed every neuron firing now. That's when a notification buzzed on my phone. Unknown sender. You're wearing it. Good. Report to my residence. Midnight. No name. No signature. But I didn't need one. Celeste. Her residence wasn't listed anywhere public. I had to be escorted by a silent driver in a matte black Tesla with no license plate. The building's elevator required a retinal scan. And the top floor wasn't labeled. When the doors opened, I was met by warm lighting, polished stone floors, and ambient violin music. No sign of Celeste at first, just a trail of lavender petals leading down the hall. I followed, pulse pounding, until I found her. Not in a silk robe. Not holding wine. No seduction. She sat at a long table covered in files. Contracts. Employee records. Some had black stripes over them, redacted names. Others had handwritten notes in her looping, confident pen. Sit, she said. We're going to talk about what Zurich really requires. I eased into the seat, still feeling the silk cling to my skin. What do you mean? Celeste didn't look at me. She simply pushed forward a folder labeled Nova Spark, Phoenix Division, Covert Ops. Zurich isn't just a promotion, Parker. It's a clean front for a very complex project. One I'm building with select, obedient minds. Not loud men with sharp elbows, but pliable minds, agile enough to act under strict and subtle command. She flipped the file open. Inside were photos of other employees. Men, mostly, some of whom I'd seen rising fast, only to vanish just before a promotion. And beneath one file was a receipt from a boutique lingerie store. My mouth went dry. They all wore the silk? Celeste finally looked at me. They all claimed to. But only one man besides you actually did it. And he cracked within 2 days. Told a friend. Lost everything. I swallowed hard. What happened to him? Removed. Quietly. I told HR he burned out. They paid him off to disappear. There was no threat in her voice. Just clarity. Like stating the temperature. I felt the edge of a cliff beneath my feet. This is illegal, I said, unsure whether I meant the manipulation, the secrecy, or the strange initiation process itself. Celeste smiled faintly. Only if someone talks. Then she pulled out another box. Smaller. Pale cream. Gold trim. No more pantomimes, she said. I need full proof now. I stared at the box. No cameras, no audience. Just you. Here. No. I opened the lid. Inside was a pair of peach lace panties, folded perfectly, with a note on top. Put these on. And recite the vow. A printed card below read. I belong to the circle. I obey not out of fear, but clarity. My pride is my mask is my power. In silence, I serve. In secrecy, I rise. My breath trembled. Why me? I asked, breaking the silence. Celeste leaned forward. Because you still believe you're in control. And men like that are the easiest to transform. I should have walked away. I should have stood up, left Celeste Duran's penthouse, and told her I didn't need Zurich. That no job was worth this manipulation. But I didn't. Instead, I reached for the peach lace underwear with fingers that trembled like a cornered animal. And I put them on. In the silence of her guest bathroom, standing beneath a crystal chandelier, I recited the vow out loud, voice barely above a whisper, but echoing in my mind like thunder. I belong to the circle. I obey not out of fear, but clarity. My pride is my mask is my power. In silence, I serve. In secrecy, I rise. When I emerged, Celeste didn't applaud or even smile. She simply nodded and passed me a folder labeled Level 2 Access. Everything felt different. I walked into the office in the same designer suit, same polished shoes, but beneath the fabric was the soft hum of lace and surrender. Every conversation with coworkers now had a second layer, a new context. Did they know? Were they part of this? When I reached my desk, there was a slim white envelope waiting for me. No name. No logo. Inside was a single silver card. The circle. Welcome, initiate. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Location attached. Mandatory. The location, a bookstore. But not just any bookstore. It was hidden behind an antique elevator shaft in the old harbor district, in what looked like a condemned building from the outside. But once I stepped inside, I was greeted by dim chandeliers, velvet reading nooks, and candlelight flickering off polished stone walls. And about a dozen people in suits and skirts. All gender neutral. All elegant. All watching me. At the center of the room stood a familiar face. Miles Donovan. The same Miles who had teased me about my scent. The same Miles who once called me a cutthroat closer in front of a dozen execs. Now, he stood before me in heels, a long dark coat draped over what looked suspiciously like a bustier, and his hair subtly styled in soft waves. It was seamless. Elegant. Controlled. Parker, he said with a gentle nod. You made it. I blinked. You. Miles smiled faintly. Level 3. The rest of the group circled around me. One by one, they pulled down their collars or lifted the edges of their cuffs to reveal subtle, symbolic tattoos, a small silver circle marked near the collarbone. Every one of them had it. Every one of them had passed the tests. Celeste appeared last, descending a narrow staircase like a queen entering court. Welcome to the circle, she said. Here, you're not defined by what you were, but what you're becoming. Celeste gestured to a mannequin standing in the center of the room, draped in an outfit, and my blood ran cold. It was a knee-length pale blue pencil skirt, soft blouse, and modest heels. It looked professional, tasteful, and unmistakably feminine. This, she said, is your next step. It's not about clothes. It's about discipline. Dignity. Control under pressure. You will wear this, head to toe, to your Thursday appointment at Eden Tower Finance. My stomach flipped. That was a billion-dollar investor. A client we had courted for months. I can't, I whispered. Miles stepped forward. You will. I did. And I closed that same client last year, in full makeup. I stared at him, stunned. And they accepted it? They never knew, he said simply. But I walked in more focus than I'd ever been. Because when you carry a secret that would ruin you, it sharpens you. You listen better. You speak slower. You adapt. Celeste added, there is no power greater than the one you keep tucked beneath your own mask. I stared at the pale blue outfit on my bed for hours. The blouse shimmered slightly under the bedroom light. The skirt had a tag that read tailored for you. I opened a second envelope marked Thursday Protocol. Inside were detailed instructions, how to tuck, how to tape, how to apply subtle concealer to the jawline, how to walk with less sway and more poise. They had thought of everything. But what truly terrified me wasn't the transformation. It was how much of me wanted to see if I could pull it off. What would happen if I succeeded? What else could I become? The morning of the Eden Tower finance meeting, my apartment was a war zone of precision. The pale blue skirt suit hung on the door like a silent dare, and the protocol packet lay open on my bathroom counter, annotated with sticky notes in my own handwriting. I had spent hours practicing the night before, taping, tucking, walking in heels between my kitchen counter and living room couch like it was a catwalk of consequence. At first, it felt like a masquerade, ridiculous and fragile. But then, I started noticing something. How the change in posture sharpened my awareness. How each movement became more intentional. How my eyes started catching flaws in others' behavior during practice Zoom calls, before they even realized they'd made them. It was like, slipping into this version of me unlocked a different kind of control. And today, I was about to test it at the highest level. Thursday, 9:43 a.m. Eden Tower Financial, 61st floor. I arrived early, as instructed. Hair slicked and styled to sweep across one eye. A thin layer of foundation softened my jawline, while a mauve lip tint gave my face the kind of subtle edge that didn't scream drag, but whispered refined. The heels clicked softly on the marble floor. The skirt swayed just enough to remind me of its presence. And beneath it all, the peach lace was still there. My secret spine of silk. "Ms. Gray?" the receptionist asked. My stomach did a backflip. "Yes," I said softly, voice slightly higher, smooth, but calm. The name wasn't a mistake. It was a directive. It was strategy. The 3 men I was set to meet, Eden Tower's executive team, were already seated. Not one of them blinked at my appearance. Their eyes didn't wander. Their gazes locked on my presentation slides. My voice held steady. My pitch was clean, data-heavy, and unshakable. By the time I finished the final slide, there was silence. Then, a slow clap. From Charlotte Haynes, the CEO of Eden Tower, who I hadn't even realized had entered midway. She rose from her seat in the back corner, wearing a pearl gray pantsuit and a knowing smile. "You don't waste words," she said. "I like that. Nova Sparks lucky to have you." I nodded, heart pounding. She glanced at my shoes, just for a second, then met my eyes. "Some people climb the corporate ladder," she said. "Others build their own." And then she left. That was it. The meeting was over, and I had won.